if you want to go ahead and get started, we'll go ahead and like I said, we'll have this recorded, so if anybody misses it, we can definitely send it to them.
Yes, sir. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my share my screen with everybody. I just want to double check. Can everyone see my screen now? We should have 3 separate windows pulled up with the pitch application displayed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the reason for me having these 3 pulled up is the way that we've kind of set up the application. It only really requires 1 user, and we'll get into the different users later. The app can be completed with just 1 user, and that is the official pitch count recorder. However, the AHSAA is recommending and suggesting that actually 3 users interact with the app during a given competition. So a breakdown of those privilege roles are going to be, there's going to be a official pitch count recorder, and that user is going to represent the home team. Then each team is also going to bring with them to the game a pitch count recorder. So there'll be, the home team will have an official pitch count recorder and a pitch count recorder present, and the away team will have just a pitch count recorder representative at the competition. Now the AHSAA will be able to get a little further into this information, but as I understand it, that official pitch count recorder permission and title is going to require some sort of testing and to gain some type of certification. The way I understand it, it's much like an ECO, an electric operator.
Yes, correct.
So when the time comes, I'm sure they'll send out some information to you guys about how to obtain that official pitch count recorder title. But moving forward with the actual demonstration, just know that the home team will need to have a user set up in their school users and staff interface within C2C and list that user as an official pitch count recorder. And I just want to pull it up real quick to show you guys we already have those privileges set up. So within your school users and staff interface, simply click on the user's name or search for that user, go over your team privileges or team permissions rather, and you see here we have the pitch count reporter and the official pitch count reporter. So those will be the 2 roles that you will need to assign to any user that you are wanting to access this application. So unless you have either of these 2 options set tied to your account within C2C, you will not be able to interact with this application. So all of this is, all of your access to this application is based upon and dependent upon the access given in the school users and staff in C2C. And how the app is accessed, I know there's kind of been some confusion as the word app has been tossed around. Because there are so many different rules and regulations for getting an actual mobile app approved to be displayed in the App Store and made available in the App Store, we just went ahead and made this accessible by way of a web URL. So as long as your tablet or mobile device has access to the Internet, all you will do is just enter the following, pitch.c2cschools.com. So if everyone wants to take note of that, again, it's pitch.c2cschools.com, and that'll bring you right to the pitch application. And depending on your login credentials and your permissions on the site, you'll be able to move forward by logging in that way.
Hey, Emery, to go along with that, we have added that URL also to our mobile app. So if you have our mobile app, which is in the App Store and Google Play, you can also access it through that way as well.
Okay, that's great. Okay. So again, to demonstrate the full functionality of this application, I'm going to log in as each user. So over here on my left screen, I'm going to log in as the home team's official pitch count recorder. Here on the middle screen, ePulp1 is going to be our home team pitch count recorder. And over here on the right-hand side is going to be our away team pitch count recorder. So I'm going to go ahead and log in with everybody now. And you'll see an available games UI. If anybody has accessed the score app that we've created for the association, it's going to look very similar to that. games will populate in this available games UI in this pitch app on the date of the baseball competition. So from 12 a.m. of that given day until 11:59 p.m. of that date, that game will be available in this app. And when I refer to UI, it means a user interface. So this is an interactive page that the users will see. So when I refer to a UI, that just refers to a screen that you can see and interact with in the app. So I'm going to go ahead and select my game. So the game that we have set up right now, the two teams are AHSAA test versus FHSAA test number 5. So these are the school names. So you'll see the school name here. So it could be Montgomery High School versus for high school. So you'll see the actual team name listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and enter the app for all of the users. And the first thing you'll see here is our data entry interface. So as you know, the home team will take the field first. So obviously we would want to select their pitcher to begin the app. So at the top here, the app will list the team you are currently interacting with. So right now, AHSAA test, that's our home team. So in the bottom, we have our add pitcher, and we have our visitor options. The visitor, which switches from home to visiting team, and add pitcher. Now this add pitcher interface, if we select add pitcher, this is going to pull directly from your team's roster within C2C. So everything pulls directly from C2C. So your games get populated in the app based upon the games on your team schedule entered in C2C, as well as the pitchers in the roster here in the app. All of those athletes are pulled directly from the team's roster in C2C. There's no manual entry of games or of athletes. So in order for this app to work, you must ensure that that game is entered in C2C and that any player that could potentially pitch in that day's competition is added to your team's roster in C2C. And this app runs in real time. So if you made a mistake real quick and forgot to add a kid, you called a JV kid up for the day, and he might throw an inning or two. If you can get to a computer real quick and add that kid, as soon as you go back into the app and click refresh, that kid will populate. So, like I said, it is in real time. So if there is ever a scenario where you may have forgotten to add a player, like I said, maybe a JV call-up or something along those lines, as long as you get them added in C2C, they'll populate in that app right away. So we're going to scroll through here. We're just going to say we'll add Tim Hudson. So all three users will select this pitcher, and then they'll just simply begin using this plus button. It's all, touch screen. You just start tapping the plus button. If you make a mistake, you can obviously negate a pitch. So we'll just kind of simulate through the top half of the inning here and say Tim gets out of there with 12 pitches. We'll get everybody up to 12. So all three users got 12. And now, one thing to take note of is you're not going to submit after each half inning, but you only submit once the entire inning is completed. So the home team completed the top half of inning 1. Now we'll go to our visiting team. We'll just simply click the visitor icon down here at the bottom, and it'll show you, that you are now selecting pitchers for the away team, which is FHSAA test. And we'll go through and add a pitcher and pull from their roster. So let's throw Bumgardner, and then we'll begin tracking pitches for Madison Bumgardner. So say we get up to 14. Now what I want to do is I want to show you what happens in the case of a discrepancy. So for my home PCR user, I'm gonna get a count that varies from the other two to kind of show everybody what will happen in those situations. So we're going to go 14, 13, 14. Now, you can, if you need to switch back, you can go back from home or away if you ever, think you missed a pitch. Now we can go to submit inning. So each user is going to submit their inning. And now you'll be brought to a confirm entry screen, just where you can review the pitch totals that you recorded for each team's pitcher for that inning. So we're in inning 1, AHSAA test home team, Tim Hudson through 12, away, Bumgarner through 14. Now, if you need to go back and you notice that you made a mistake, you can simply go back and add or remove any pitches to your pitch count here. So we're going to go ahead and confirm. Now, your two PCR users will need to wait for the official pitch count recorder to actually verify and submit the pitch counts. Okay, only the official pitch count recorder entries are the ones that actually get submitted and are the counts that are carried over to the next inning. So if we go ahead and confirm, this is where you'll see where the different user roles vary depending on which screens you see. The official pitch count recorder sees this verify counts UI that the two PCRs do not see. So the home team, our away guy got 12, our home guy got 12, and I got 12. So everybody looks good there. For the away team, my away user got 14, my home user got 13, and I got 14. So you'll notice that it shows that that varied number in a different color. It shows it in red to kind of highlight that there is a discrepancy that doesn't match the other two users. So in this scenario, like I said, this official pitch count recorder number that gets submitted is the one that goes through. So this would be a situation in the middle of the two innings where either that official would need to collaborate with those other two home and away users to say, hey, the away guy and myself got 14. However, Emery, you got 13. Can we kind of come together and agree upon what the actual number is? And this guy might say, yeah, I accidentally received a text message and I didn't get his count, or I failed to tap the button. So we're going to go ahead and move forward that number actually is 14. You can see here we can still edit these numbers. The official can still edit these numbers. So we're going to go ahead and submit. Now you get a confirm screen. For Marvin and Ron, this is one of the additions that we added as a result of our beta testing at the All-Star game. So we did go ahead and add this confirm screen here to just serve as a warning to make sure that they want to go ahead and submit these inning one counts.
Emery, so there's no confusion based on our rule. If two of the three pitch count recorders match and the other one doesn't, then the official pitch count recorder will go with the two that match. Okay. Okay. That'll definitely cut down on some downtime. And then I guess if all three each have unique entries, then at that point then they could get together and to come up with the right answer. So if that's the case, it would go to the official pitch count recorder.
Okay.
If they want to discuss, they can, but the official pitch count recorder will have the final say.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we want to get into having a discussion between each inning.
Right.
If two agree, that's what it is. If none agree, the official pitch count recorder is official.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. So now that we've completed inning one, you see our two PCRs, home and away, they still remain on their verification pending UI until that official either completes the game or adds a new inning. So he or she does have an option at the completion of each inning to either complete the game or add a new one. So we're always going to go ahead and add a new inning. And now he's going to be refreshed, and these two users and they then have the option to move on to the next inning. So as you see here, we now start with the inning two pitch count total now begins with the number that was submitted for inning one, and as you can see, we cannot ever go back from that number. So I'm trying to click on this negative button. It will never subtract from a submitting of a submitted innings pitch count. So if we could go forward to 13 and go back down to 12, but we can never go lower than 12, being that 12 was already submitted. So we'll go ahead and go through this one real quick. Get him up to 20. Get him up to 20. And now we'll go to our visiting. And now if everyone remembers, even though we submitted 13 for this user in the first inning, because the official actually submitted 14 and confirmed 14, that user gets caught up and gets brought back up to 14, which was the number that was submitted. Everybody will remain on the same page. Go through and pitch more. Now we're at 5, so we can submit the inning.
What time do you think?
Hold it guys in 5:30, so just come back there.
Now in this scenario, what I did here is I went ahead and I submitted my official entries before my two PCR entries. So if that's the case and that official does not see that those entries have come through yet, he just simply hits refresh and those entries will come through. So in the event that the official gets a step ahead of the two pitch count recorders, he or she can refresh until those new entries come through. Looks good.
Conference call. I'm on a conference.
Go ahead and
Get on your back bus. Make sure everybody's on.
Okay, so we're now moving forward with inning 3. What we're going to do here is just show an example or a scenario in which a pitcher would be removed and replaced by another. So we'll say Tim came out and threw 6 pitches, and that was just his limit for the day. A tight pitch watch, and we just simply go down here and add pitcher, and then we can, select again athletes from our roster. We'll go and add mulch. All 3 users will need to do so, and then we'll continue tracking our pitches for inning 3. Say John gets out of there with 9. Now we'll go to the visiting team, shuffle through some here. And now we'll submit. Anybody have any questions? I know I've kind of been moving fast, but I just want to make sure that before we get any further, I want to stop to make sure anybody didn't have any questions, and I was going a little too fast for anybody.
Hey, Emery, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? This is Coach Dan at Andalusia High School. Where does this official come from? I might have missed it, but is he from? Is that somebody that's involved in the umpiring crew on a game basis, or what?
No,
I'm gonna
be just like
I'm gonna that over to either Mr. Ingram or Mr. Show. I'm assuming it's going to be some sir that gained some sort of officiating privileges through some testing.
Mr. Jones can explain it.
We'll do that just like we do a clock operator in our basketball games, to where each school just gets somebody certified to be an official pitch count operator, and you provide that pitch count operator.
Okay, so that's what you said earlier. So our school will have somebody that is certified to do that on top of a home pitch recorder, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you'll have, when you play at home, you'll have 2 people from your associate, your school.
You don't have to, but that is an option that you have. You can just have your official pitch count, but it's better to have one in your dugout as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
Also, if you're hosting a tournament, the host school is required to have the official pitch count recorder for each contest. And that could be from another school, but they still have to have, provide that pitch count, official pitch count recorder, like they would if they were doing a basketball tournament in multiple gyms.
Right. Gotcha.
But it will not be an official.
Gotcha. I understand completely. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I just went ahead and pulled it up real quick. So here's your users and staff interface, and we just went ahead and added these 2 additional titles and roles to your baseball team. So you'll see here when the time comes, you either select, official or just the pitch count.
Gotcha.
Report.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So we're done with inning 3. We're going to go ahead and confirm everybody. Again, our official got a little ahead of everybody else. So if he just goes in and hits refresh, those other 2 pitchers' counts will come through. So if everything looks good here, again, we'll submit. Go to the next inning. Yes, we want to add an inning. Now, the app also allows you to select a pitcher who's already been removed to pull him back. If Tim Hudson needs to come back into the game, all we do is just simply click on his name right there. We can see we click on either person's name. He'll start at last submitted pitch count total. Again, we cannot negate from that total once that 26 was submitted. So we can move forward with Tim throwing. A couple more pitches here in this 4th inning if need be. So
Emery, I have a question about changing pitchers in an inning. Let's say that we use 3 or 4 pitchers in one inning. We do not confirm any of those pitchers until that complete inning is over?
Yes, sir. That is correct. Yes, sir. you're going to submit the entire inning. So whether that was 4 pitchers for each team or whatever the case may be, you'll submit everybody at once. So you're only hitting this submit button after the top and bottom half of the given inning have been completed.
Okay. And let's say that we have a substitute pitcher and one of the 2 or one of the 3 users does not change the pitcher. Does the official automatically change the other 2, or does each one have to make sure that they change to have the right pitcher in there?
Yes, sir. Each user is going to need to make sure that they select the right pitcher in there. Now, however, in saying that, because the official pitch count recorder's entries are the only ones that are actually getting submitted and stored in the C2C database, as long as the official pitch count recorder is on track and makes sure that he or she adds the correct pitchers and the correct pitch totals for each inning, then all the data still will be accurate, although that one user, app might be a little off, if that makes sense. But as long as the official pitch count recorder is staying on his or her toes and make sure that they are the ones that are at least, adding all of the right people and the right pitches, then everything will be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask you this, Emery. Whenever he submits at the end of the inning, how will that update the other pitch count recorders?
Well, the only thing it's going to update is if they all are on the same page with the pitcher. If they have the right pitcher, the pitch count totals will be updated. If there is a user who does not have the right pitcher selected, then they're in trouble.
But how do we fix that? How do we handle that situation? That would be I guess would need to be corrected on site. That would be one thing that they might need to discuss at that point in time. But would the official pitch count recorder know that?
Hey Ron, this is Robert.
The official pitch count recorder recognize the fact that the two of them have different pitchers being recorded?
Hey Ron, this is Robert.
Yes, sir.
This is Robert Gomes.
Yes.
Good question, because there's all types of variables here, okay? And we certainly can't think of all of them. But let's put this to the test, because I'm interested too. So let's have Emery put in the one guy for the away team, and let's have the official pitch count recorder put in the same guy, and let's have the away team put in a different guy, okay? And then we will, and let's see what happens here, okay? So Emery, you've added.
Yeah, I've added
Jacob
DeGrom twice and Clayton Kershaw once.
Okay. And so can we make him Jacob and put Clayton over here for the away? And yeah, and put Clayton there. And let's go ahead and throw some pitches in. Okay, and let's go ahead and submit. Let's see what happens.
It took the one that was selected by more. So 2 people chose DeGrom, so it took DeGrom. Only one person took Kershaw.
Right.
So let's see what happens to him when we submit.
Exactly. And that's exactly where I was going with this.
So it did. It looks like it did update him.
Yeah. So what we just saw there is that as long as the pitch count recorder had in the correct pitcher, that it will actually correct that on the pitch count recorder's user interface. Is that correct, Emery?
Yes, sir.
I'll let you take it from here. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, it looks the correction because our guy on the right, our 2 guys left 2 screens had DeGrom. The guy on the right screen had Kershaw. We submitted all 3. And because DeGrom was the name that was submitted by the OPCR, all 3 now got updated to DeGrom with 5.
Okay. Does that answer your?
I think so, but what would happen, let's just say that the pitch count recorder had the wrong pitcher in there and the other two had the correct one. Would that same thing happen?
Yeah, well, at some point, there's got to be a human interaction there. So I am just guessing that if the two pitch count recorders send in just the opposite that what the pitch count recorder has, that pitch count recorder is going to see that. Is that correct, Emory? Let's go ahead and test that, I guess. So we're going to make the pitch count recorder wrong this time. So the pitch count recorder now has Jake. The other two have, was it Trevor? Okay. So
It's taking whoever the official pitch.
yeah, so it's taking whoever the official pitch count recorder has in there. It's not considering the other two.
Okay, and the other two cannot see the official pitch count recorders, what he's got in there, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Once it's confirmed, they can. Or submitted. Is that the correct statement, Emory? Once it is
All
submitted.
right, but once it's submitted, then the other two will be able to see that the pitch count recorder had it wrong, correct?
So let's go ahead and submit. Now these folks have just seen that the name was actually changed on their screen. And so yes, they are going to see that. As soon as
and let's say that happens in a game and they come out and say, whoa, the pitch count recorder had the wrong pitcher in there. Is there anything we can do about that now since it's submitted?
Not to my knowledge.
What we'll have to do is instruct the official pitch count recorder to make sure they're consistent before he submits.
At some point, there has to be some human interaction. We've taken away a tremendous amount of the human interaction on this and tried to make it as easy as possible, but at some point, mistakes are made, and you know, it's going to happen. Let's just face facts.
Oh, yes, I understand that, and I expect that. It's just like an AHSAA call that there's going to be some mistakes made, but something like this, though, needs to be corrected, or shouldn't it?
I'm down.
I mean, now all of a sudden we got a pitcher that's given 20 extra pitches that he didn't pitch.
There's not any way for us to see what the official pitch count recorder has in real time, is there?
No, sir. No, sir. So the two pitch count recorders are going to be limited to the data that they've submitted and the data they've submitted only. The official is going to be the only user that's able to see the other users' entries.
Is that something, though, if something like that were to happen, is that something that Marvin or one of us at the state office could come back in and correct once we are reported of an error like that and correct it in the system?
Yes, sir. So, you know, with some of these questions that are popping up today, you know, we try to think of 1,000 things along the way that could happen. And, you know, it's just human nature. We're going to fall short because, you know, you never can tell what somebody's going to do out there. So what we are looking at is that, you know, after this release, we step back, talk with our association, and they've got their feedback from the schools, and see where there needs to be some tweaking in there, to be completely honest with you. But it's going to be dialogue between the association and C2C. And when we get off here today, listen, there's going to be some scenarios that we haven't thought of, you know. So we're going to have to work on this as it goes. We understand that.
Oh, and I do too. I'm just trying to think of some of these that possibly could happen and how we do it.
Yes, sir.
The key is, can someone in this office fix the final report once it's entered into the system? Do we have an override capability? And that's just, we can discuss that later, but that's where the answer would be.
Yeah, no, I understand, Ron. And at this moment, we do not. We've always went with the pitch count recorder kind of being the agent of record on these games. And so that's the reason that privilege was given to them, and that so that they could submit that. So again, a few things are going to happen that we haven't even thought of yet, and we're going to have to tweak that along the way. We just don't quite know what all of those are, but there will need to be fixes along the way to some of these things. We will never eliminate everything, all human error, but, we'll always work hard at trying to do the best we can of being able to go in and correct issues, of course.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, let's talk about policy a minute, since we got the association on here just a second. We got 2 pitch count recorders in theory and 1 official pitch count recorder in theory, and whether the pitch count recorders are in the dugout or whether they're in the stands, and the official pitch count recorder, I don't know where that person would be. I'm sure probably on the home side, because that's generally, it sounds like that's where that person's going to come from. We had the luxury when we beta tested this of all 3 people sitting together. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, or at least doesn't sound like that's going to happen to start off with. But I'm guessing there needs to be some communication at the beginning of the game, especially when the first few games start up at least, where they kind of get on the same page. You maybe have a 2-minute meeting or something, or I don't know, Ron, I'm looking for you and Marvin for suggestions on this. You guys are the rules makers.
I think I'd like to get some coaches' input on that. I just wonder if they want that person in their dugout to have some feedback on it, or we could do it similar to basketball, to where they're all 3 sitting at a table together.
That would be awesome.
And I think if they're all together and forced to be together, it's really going to eliminate a lot of the possible contingencies that could arise.
Can they sit in the press box?
Yes. Coaches, what do y'all think on that?
I think they need to be together.
Okay.
I think definitely there needs to be some type of meeting, maybe, like we meet at home plate with the coaches. I think there needs to be some kind of meeting with the other recorders, and then I don't know if all schools have a place for all of them to sit together, whether it's in a press box or whatever, but just some type of communication, even if it's just a text message back and forth before the official guy submits, to make sure some of these errors don't happen. They can just kind of say, hey, I got Jake Arrieta with 6, and the official guy can say, well, I got Madison Bumgarner with 6, let me change it right quick before I submit, and that'll cut out maybe. Just with that little bit of communication there can cut out some headaches, that have to be fixed, some type of override at the state office or something.
Yeah, so y'all like them all sitting together then,
if possible.
Yes, sir.
And listen, we push out a lot of software, a lot of new software, and one thing I've realized is that when you push out new software, nobody's ever seen it before. If they have seen it, they probably never used it before. And so there's going to be mistakes made, and the more they use it, the better they'll be at it. But to begin with, it sounds like it would be, great if all 3 folks could be just sitting together and working their way through it, until they get, pretty good at it.
I don't know if we could have some type of, we do the umpires clinic each year, but definitely, a practice, whether it's an inter squad or I think these guys need to be familiar with it before opening day. At some type of event with, 3 pitch count recorders going, so that they get familiar, so the opening day there's not a bunch of calls to the state office.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, trust me, because when they get those calls, I'm generally probably laying in bed somewhere and I'm going to get a call and I got to fix something. So I'm with you, Coach. As much as you can do to help that along the way, I think it'll make everybody happier, more at ease with it. And that's what we're looking for. And that's what the state's looking for too, I believe.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I'm assuming we all need to have Wi-Fi available at each site if possible. I know some schools might not be able to, but if you're using a tablet.
Yeah, so that's a good question, Coach. So when we beta tested this, we beta tested both ways. We had one person on their cellular and 2 people on Wi-Fi. And the gentleman on the cellular went through 2 complete games and didn't hardly burn up any cellular. He couldn't even measure the amount of cellular use that he used doing this, so it does not tax their cellular phone much at all. But as long as they got cellular, they're good. If some iPads have cellular, some have to work off of Wi-Fi, so it'll be a combination of.
In extreme cases, Mr. Brewer in the original process developed a paper form that would be used only if necessary. And then when the let's say the official pitch count recorder had no service, he would keep it on paper, and when he got to a point where he did have service, he would then enter that information.
Yes. And one other thing I would like to throw up, I'm just going to actually introduce this question to Emory since he is the architect of all of this. There are going to be scenarios where there are going to be schools that have 2 or maybe 3 or 4 official pitch count recorders in their privileges, okay? And 2 of those folks may show up at the home game that both have privileges of pitch count recorder and official pitch count recorder. And in those cases, when they log in, I'm going to let Emory tell you how that works.
Yes, if in the event of a home team having multiple users log into the application that all have the official pitch count recorder option, they will see an alert, an additional UI that will force them to denote whether or not they are serving as the official or just the pitch count recorder for that game. So as soon as they log in, like I said, this is only going to populate on a screen for a user who logs in to a home team, and that home team has more than one user in C2C listed as the official pitch count recorder, then he or she is going to need to denote which position they're serving as for that competition.
So does that make sense to you guys? So I'm an official pitch count recorder. Let's say Marvin's an official pitch count recorder for the same school. We log in that day. I've got the pitch count recorder responsibility. Marvin's got the official pitch count recorder. There will be what Emory calls a UI that pops up, a user interface, a little screen. I call it a little screen. It's going to ask you if you are the official pitch count recorder for that game. The first one that actually opens that and clicks it for that game is going to be the official pitch count recorder for that game. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
And let's just say another human error to where one of them said yes and they're actually not. Is there a way that they just log out and then the other person logs in and becomes official?
I don't think so. Emory can test that right now.
Yeah, we'll have to test that. I haven't gone through that scenario. I'm trying to pull up the.
So I clicked that I'm the official pitch count recorder for my school that day, and I'm actually not. And Marvin actually is, but I went ahead and wasn't paying any attention. And this will happen. Everything will happen that we're talking about. The question is can I go back and kind of uncheck myself? And that's what we got to check on. I don't know that answer right now. I know just being an old farm guy, trying to make do with what you got. I could always switch phones with Marvin, and play the game out and be done with it, But at that point, I would still be the one that is noted as the OPCR. So we just took a note of that.
Bottom line for our baseball coaches is only one official pitch count recorder will be allowed with this app per game.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Emily, have you done anything with the school? Not yet. If we were to give that school privileges and then they go in and mark Robert.
And just to carry that a step further, let's say that the home team didn't have someone certified. Could that visitor pitch count recorder then become the official pitch count recorder?
That's a Alabama High School Athletic Association question. The directives that we had in building the software, that it had to come from the home team.
And it should, but let's just say that there wasn't anyone there and this person was the only one. Do they have to be in that home team's list of certified recorders, or can it just be on a list of certified recorders?
Yes, sir. They will need to be listed in that home school users and staff as an official pitch count recorder.
Now, Emory, if that's the case, would the home team, would they be able to go in and give someone privileges at that moment?
Yeah, as long as they have access to get on to C2C,
yeah,
and they can add anybody.
Let's say I'm the away team and one of their people didn't show up, and the home team actually could go put in Robert G. username me as an official pitch count recorder for that. So, in theory, it can be done.
It can be done. User has to be added in that home school users and staff.
I can see that happening. Maybe like if Oxford High School is going to play Bob Jones High School at Jacksonville State University, and we're just meeting there to play halfway, and then we get there and then we flip, and I realize that I'm the home team at that moment, 5 minutes before the game, and I realized that our official pitch count recorder didn't make the trip. I can see where that would probably come up a lot.
Or a car could break down along the way, a flat tire, so a lot of things can happen. Yes, sir. Yeah, life happens, for sure. As long as High School Athletic Association gives you tells you can do it. We're just saying this can happen. We're not telling you to do it. I want to be very careful of this. They're the ones who make the rules.
That's right.
And going back to something that Ron said earlier, how is the you got to be on the home team's list of certified pitch count recorders? Is that based on site, or is that based on home team as far as
The host team is the correct term.
or the host team?
Yes, sir, the host team.
Yes, sir. It's the host team, because in the scenario that I believe it was Coach Brooks brought up, on your schedule, when you enter a game, you have to designate who the home team is.
Or the host.
That's right.
Or the host team. So you would need to know that before you met. Even if you flip the coin to see who batted first, someone would have to be the host school. So the host school is responsible.
Right. If it was me that scheduled that game at Jacksonville State, then we would be the host school. We might not be the home or visitors until we get there, but because I got that together and I organized that, same way with probably getting a tournament sanction, I'm sure that's the same process.
Yes. Same, yeah. So those problems kind of fix themselves there.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Well, if anybody doesn't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up the game. Unless anybody wants me to go through any additional innings, I think we should have a pretty good understanding of how the app is supposed to function. If anybody has any additional questions as far as the app's functionality, please let me know. If not, we'll go ahead and complete this game and then start going over the various reports that are going to be made available to the schools to display all of the pitch count totals from all of the pitchers.
Unlimited innings.
Yeah, and just to let everybody know, the app doesn't have a inning limit or cap. So, if the game ends in the fourth inning, a 15-run rule, or it goes into 15 innings of extra innings, the app will just continue to keep tracking innings as you go. And another thing that might be worth noting is that we break down the app by inning just for organizational purposes. It obviously makes sense. But the app is not tracking pitches thrown per inning. It's just doing a total, a game total. So any scenarios in which, you may have a case where the official pitch count recorder cannot actually access the app and needs to do the manual entry, and if he or she needs to go back into the app to track pitches after the game is completed, he or she could technically just add inning one and add any pitcher and their total pitch count for that inning 1, as opposed to, actually simulating inning 1, Robert threw 8, inning 2, he threw 9, you know what I mean? So as long as that entry is submitted, it doesn't really matter what inning it was submitted for. The app is just doing a total of pitches thrown throughout the entire game. So just kind of a little time saver note, if that ever is the case and you are the OPCR and need to enter counts after the completion of the game, just go ahead and probably just add that all into inning 1. And as long as those totals are accurate, the app doesn't care if it was 1 inning or 10 innings. So we're going to go ahead and just complete. We didn't enter any score counts. No, it's not going to allow us to do that. That's pretty cool. So it doesn't look like it's going to allow you to submit if no pitches were thrown. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Fresh. And we want to end the game. You'll also get a in-game warning just to confirm that you do for sure want to complete this game. Now, if you still make a mistake, once the OPCR is brought to the game complete screen, he or she then has the option to go home, or they can actually add an additional inning if that option was mistakenly selected. So we'll go home, and that'll close out the game for everybody. Now I'm going to pull up, the back end of C2C. So right now I am on our AHSAA test baseball team page. And we're going to, the pitch application is going to generate 3 reports for all the schools and the associations to access. There will be a game report that'll be accessed from the managed game interface that will just show a breakdown of pitches thrown by each pitcher. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. It's on our staging site. We haven't pushed the reports live yet. We're still making some minor tweaks. Let me pull that up. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. So there'll be a game report that's accessed from the managed game interface that will show the number of pitches thrown by each team's pitchers. And then there will also be a team season report that'll break down all of your games and show what pitcher was thrown and how many pitchers he threw. And then there will also be a player season and a player career report. That'll, you'll be able to select the season and show how many pitches were thrown by that player for each season. And then the career report will show a total of pitches thrown for each season that pitcher has been in the system. And then we also will allow you guys to pull team season reports for your opponents as well. So if you have a big game on Friday against the team with maybe the number 1 pitcher in the state, and depending on who you want to throw strategically against them, if that stud pitcher's already thrown all of his pitches, then you may want to save your number 1 for a later game. So we're going to make your opponent's reports available to you as well.
I think it's big that the communication part, just whether if it's in between the inning, they can kind of have conversations, because if it's me and I feel like I got a closer that wants to throw today and tomorrow, and I can't get over my 24 pitches so that he can come back tomorrow, I think with the pitch count recorders on both sides and they're all communicating that, maybe the head coach has one in the dugout of his home pitch count recorder, I think all communication can solve a lot of problems, because I would hate to know that I took my guy out at 24 pitches expecting him to throw tomorrow, and the official guy had him at 26 and he can't.
Right.
But going back to, I think it's a head coach's responsibility to make sure that the pitch count recorders are communicating at all times, and then I think that should be put on the head coach's responsibility to make sure that happens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We agree 100%. This is a very nice application. Obviously, it does present some scenarios and cases where people could be off in what they're recording, but with some minor brief communication, between all users interact with the application for that game, I think that really is going to almost completely eliminate the chances of having discrepancies in the application. I mean, as long as everybody on each, is on the same page. Oh, hey, did you know, they're making a pitching change. Make sure you get them in there. That's number 12. 12's coming in. Just some quick communication here and there when the time comes up. I think will really help eliminate any of those possible scenarios of anybody being off track.
Yeah, this is just a fancy tool. It all depends on who's using the tool, and how well they use the tool. So, and listen, we'll help the association or any, we're open to any kind of calls, or we want to help any way we can to help people learn how to do this. So we're always there to help.
Okay.
Hey, and just to ask another question, let's say you've got the official recorder and you got the home and away team all sitting together. Can a coach in the dugout on his cell phone have the app running as well and be able to see it as well?
No, sir. It's gonna be limited to those 3 users who were meant to be interacting with the app for that game.
Yeah, and I know what you're asking, Coach. It's like a public view type of thing, kind of a live public view, I think what you're asking. But the association has not asked for that at all. They just wanted a tool for the coaches at this point. That may come up, and you may talk to the association about that, but at this time that just hasn't came up yet. Like a read-only app, so to speak.
Yes.
I would, as a coach, I would definitely want to be able to have some type of, instead of running up to the press box in between each inning as the head coach, I would definitely want to kind of be able to make sure that everybody's on the same page, especially if I'm taking a guy out so that he doesn't reach his, allotted number of pitches for that day so that he can come back in 2 days or whatever. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes, sir.
We talked about it on this, Coach, but again, we've had no directives at this point.
I would think at the same time that you would also want to know how many pitches that your opponent's pitchers
have
thrown as well.
Coach, this is really not going to be any different process than a basketball coach who has a scorekeeper sitting to his right or left wanting no fouls and so forth. It's just a matter of communication between you as a head coach and you as your pitch count recorder. Now, how you manage that is going to be up to you, but that's the process.
Just they're a little further away, in baseball than in the basketball game. They're right there. In baseball, it might be, up in the press box where,
That's something that's why we're leaving it up to the schools to decide where their pitch count recorder is located. Okay. This may be something that you have to tweak as the season goes along, but the bottom line is your pitch count recorder is keeping that information for you, so that's who you need to be talking with. And the official pitch count recorder is supposed to be, in this contest, neutral.
That's right. So I'd like my home pitch count recorder to be in the dugout and my official guy to be in the press box, in my opinion.
Right.
Very, very good question. Very good questions. This is one of those things because it is so new. It may take a couple games for everybody to iron out, what works best for them and their group of folks that are going to be working with the app. I think as long as everybody's in compliance, the AHSAA is going to be quite open with how everybody, manages this on their end. I think it's kind of meant to be a comfort thing and something that's benefit to all the schools. So I think, maybe take the preseason games, you have any preseason games, try to, maybe just get a feel of what system and what operation is going to work for your school the best. So, there are going to be many unknowns, still going into this, leading into the season on the school's end and on the user's end. But I think that, we tried to make the app intuitive enough and easy enough to where the app itself won't get in the way of the schools trying to figure out what process is going to work for them.
I know for most everybody's area or region games are going to be towards the end of the year, which, like me, the opening week or the first 2 weeks of the season, I'm not going to be really concerned about the other team or their strategies or whatever, but I think all those little kinks will be worked out by the time you get to your home series with your area opponents, with that being late in the year, I think everybody would have enough practice time with the app to kind of work out some kinks. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 100%. It'll definitely, just as it was, 3 or 4 years ago, learning C2C and how to put your schedule. Everything will fall into place. It's just going to take a little practice and a little time to get comfortable with it. But we definitely, we agree that it's going to be a very useful tool for everybody. So I want to go ahead and real quick, so we don't take too much time. I know you guys are probably now past the full class period. I'm going to just quickly go over the different reports again that are going to be made available. So the first one I'm going to show you guys is the actual game report that's generated after each game. So what you would do is just come into your schedule, double click on the game. And then up here at the top, you'll see your pitch count report. So again, this is just for this competition, FHSAA Test 5 at AHSAA Test.
Is that what we just did?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this is the game that we actually just recorded. So we got some stuff, just some header items at the top. Team, the season, the date of the competition. We're going to show our home team, the opponent, and their jersey number, the pitcher, who the official pitch count recorder was, the date in which those entries were recorded, and then the number of pitches thrown. So you'll see here we have both schools, both teams, all of their players that threw pitches for that competition. Now we also have, like I mentioned before, we have your team season report and also your opponent season report. So those will be accessed from your actual reports icon. So we have our season pitch count. So right now this is our demo season. We're in fall of 16. Now in this drop down is where you would be able to select opponents. So the only limitation to the opponents report is that it's going to populate schools in this list based upon the teams that are actually listed on the team schedule. So we only have scheduled games in spring of this fall of 2000 against FHSAA Test number 5. So that's why that's going to show up as that only team available besides ours. So once you have your entire team schedule populated in C2C, all of those opponents will then populate your team's season report. So you can then look at your opponents. So we'll go ahead and look at ours just to kind of give you an idea. So it's going to break this down by games. This is our season report. So on Wednesday, September 28th, Maddox and Spoltz threw 32 and 4 pitches respectively. On Monday the 3rd, Tim Hudson threw 15. Thursday, October 6th, Smoltz threw 66, Rocker threw 21, and so on. So this is going to, your team season report, your report, just going to simply list the games in order, in chronological order by date, and then show the opponent, the team that they were playing, jersey number, the pitcher, the OPCR, the date reported, and the number of pitches thrown. And then last but not least, we have our specific player reports, and this will be split up into a player season and a player career. So you'll have two options here up your report, so we would just simply click on the pitcher's name, click on reports, and then we have pitch season, so that would be this current season, and then their career report. So we see both options here. It's going to populate to that season. We'll go view, and this will just show Tim Hudson's pitch chart for this season. So he threw one game, 53 pitches, and now his season total is at 53. And then
Emory, just to make sure that just a question, if that pitcher pitched at a different level, also say the JV or the middle school level, and it would show those pitch counts too at the same time, right?
Good question. It's a very good question. I'm going to assume it will, Mr. Ingram, because just to kind of show you real quick how we track everything, is that each player in our system, if I can kind of show you real quick. Each athlete in our system has this person ID right here, and that gets followed with them regardless of where they're at in C2C. So any information in our database that's saved for that athlete is going to be stored to his or her person ID. So whether that student's listed on the JV team, the freshman team, the varsity team, his or her name will still always have that same person ID. So I am going to assume, I'll double check for you, but I'm going to assume that those pitches will all populate on that player's report, regardless of where the report's actually pulled from.
Appreciate that. So that's really important because this is a health and safety rule.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 100%. So that that pretty much wraps up the demonstration for us. We have a couple minor things that we are still working on for everybody, just to let it be known. We're working on a scenario in which a game is suspended or postponed. That would be a game that's already been in place. So if you get a rain delay or a lightning delay, we need to work on some way of denoting that in the app. And then we also are working on handling the scenario of playing an out-of-state opponent at that out-of-state opponent's stadium, in which they would not be using the app. Because, as you know, the home team is going to be required to provide an official pitch count recorder who is therefore required for the completion of the app. However, if you're playing a school in Tennessee or a team in Georgia, in Tennessee or Georgia, they obviously at this time will not be using the app and therefore will not have an official pitch count recorder to work through that competition. So those are two of the remaining items that are atop C2C's list of development items as far as the actual finalization and completion of this app is concerned. So we're going to, we'll obviously have those in place by the start of the season. But just to let everybody know, there will be a little bit of a process change for those two scenarios. We're not sure if that's going to be handled within the app. We're leaning towards making that handled within the app itself. Again, if that's playing an out-of-state opponent who does not have an official pitch count recorder, or the scenario of a postponed game. Because the issue with the postponed game is the app will remain, or the data will remain as is in the app if you close out. However, as you know, because that game is therefore removed after the 24-hour mark, you wouldn't be able to go back and edit your information and resume the game if the game is resumed at a later date. So those are the two things that C2C has left on its plate. Obviously, when the time comes and those scenarios and updates are ironed out and finalized, we'll be sure to get out some documentation or update our help article to explain how to handle those two scenarios. But other than that, I mean, the app will pretty much remain as is. There won't really be too many changes as far as actual functionality of the app. So, all the information you guys obtained today will be 100% able to be used and applied once the regular season gets started. We just will make you aware of those two updates regarding those possible scenarios. I included, we have completed our help article. Did everybody, I put that in the link in the notes of this meeting. If everybody needs that, I can send that out to Mr. Ingram and Mr. Show and Mr. Jones at the AHSAA, and they can provide you with this link. If not, just go to support.c2cschools.com, which is where all of our help articles are now stored. So I can kind of show you how to run through that real quick. And it's got a full overview, I mean, basically step-by-step, just a hard copy printed version of basically what I did today in my demonstration. It goes through pretty much everything and how to access even all of your reports and whatnot. So if anybody, forgets anything or got too much information.
I got a question maybe for the guys at the state, Ron and Mark. Does this need to be a certified coach, or can it just be like a trusted parent to do this? Or
it can be anybody that you want it to be.
Okay.
As long as they're certified.
I got you.
We'll have a test just like the ECO test in C2C. We'll have a test in C2C for them to take as well to get certified.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to thank Emery and Robert. You guys, thank you for doing this. Thanks to the coaches. Hope this helped. And like you said, we're gonna post this on our website as well and everything. So if you talk to your coaches in your district, please just let them know. You'll get a copy of it as well. So just please let them know to watch it, and you know, it takes about 45 minutes, but I think it'll be very helpful.
Appreciate it too. Thank you guys, all of you participating. Thank you, Robert and Emery, for the hard work.